Oh, hey, it's Caleb from GameGlyph, and today we're going to do the top 10 best, favorite, most awesome Sega Genesis games. And I'm going to talk about the games that to me are my favorite and games that I own. Disclaimer, Castlevania Bloodlines, not on the list. I don't own it. I'd really rather not capture footage of games through emulation. I think that's not awesome. I know you can do it, and everyone does it, and it's easy, and people live stream it, and that's awesome. But this is my top 10 Sega Genesis games. Not yours, not the Angry Video Game Nerds, not JonTron's or whoever else, not Watch Mojo, obviously. This is just mine. So stick around, check out my top 10 favorite Sega Genesis games that I own that aren't Castlevania Bloodlines.
Number 10.
X-Men 2. Clone Wars, developed by Head Games and released in 1995 for the Sega Genesis. This game was kind of a mystery to me as a kid. I rented it, and I popped it in my Sega Genesis only to find that the game just starts. There's no title, there's no intro, nothing. Level 1, you just start. That is the intro to the game. You're in the snow, and it just randomly selects a character, often Cyclops. It seems like it likes to favor old Scott Slim Summers for some reason. He's a good guy. He's got a projectile. In this game, instead of having to collect power-ups to, maintain your mutant power that you're born with and you shouldn't have to do, which was really stupid in the first game, you actually have a meter that kind of builds up slowly, and you never really truly run out in this game. But if you build up your X-Men mutant meter all the way, it gets into like these yellow bar regions where you can do extra damage, no pun intended. And it's a really, really fun way to destroy enemies. And this game is hard as nails. Even to this day, this game is really hard and unforgiving. I don't know why they wanted to make a kid's game this hard, but my God, is it fun. The music's awesome. The graphics, the gameplay, the action, everything was a humongous improvement over the original game, X-Men, for the Sega Genesis. This game is great. It's a wonderful side-scrolling action beat-em-up with good music, good graphics, good character selection, really cool story. Spoiler alert, once you get to a certain point in this game, you get to play as freaking Magneto, and he is the man in this game. He is awesome. Now, granted, this game gets really hard, but it's totally worth your efforts, so check it out if you don't already know. X-Men 2 Clone War.
Number 9.
Ecco the Dolphin. What a weird and interesting game developed by Nova Trade International in 1992. Released for the Sega Genesis. It also came out on the Sega CD. There were sequels to the game like Echo Ties of Time, but the first one is just magical and really kind of terrifying. It's beautiful and sometimes terrifying, like I said, game unlike anything else to this day, and still swimming alone in its uniqueness. The gameplay consists of you traversing through this enormous ocean, meeting whales, using your sonar for echolocation-based mapping, which you can do. You can send out your sonar, and it actually, when it comes back to you, when you hold down the button, it shows you a map of the areas in front of you, so you have to turn around to do a map behind you. But the way the game starts is you're swimming around with your pod, your dolphin, and everything is great, and all of a sudden, whoosh, after you get to the highest point in the sky that you can, all of your ocean-dwelling friends are all sucked up. All the dolphins are sucked up out of the water by some unknown force you don't even know. And so you have to figure out what's going on. So to do this, you have to talk to other dolphins, other whales, other creatures, and you do this with your sonar button, with the A button. And you just hit it, and then it comes up with a text, and it tells you what they're saying. It's really, really cool, actually. And you can ram into evil jellyfish with your nose by hitting B. You hold down C to kind of accelerate and go faster. You can get kind of an enhancement to your sonar, which actually does damage. You can pick up objects, interact with your environment. You can eat fish. It's a beautiful game with beautiful music. A lot of people don't understand this game. It's very, very strange, and it gets surprisingly dark very fast. To make a long story short, by the end of the game, you're traveling up these crazy H.R. Giger-looking tube systems to fight this giant alien head, which is amazing. It's a really great boss battle to free all your friends in the ocean. This is a beautiful game. It's often overlooked. I don't think people really understand this game for what it is. It's not like any other game. It's not an action platformer. It's Ecco the Dolphin. It's a unique game. It's one of my favorites. My sister and I used to play this game all the time. You have to use a password system to, go to the next level or to go back to the levels that you were at before. And they're really weird passwords. But it works. And this game is awesome, and I highly recommend you play it. This game is unique, and it's gorgeous to this day. The pixel art is just gorgeous. The colors are gorgeous. Totally worth your time. Ecco the Dolphin, Sega Genesis.
Number 8.
Devilish, developed by Opera House and released in the Sega. This is a strange little puzzle game with kind of a horror theme. Fans of Arkanoid and Breakout would definitely be at home here. Like Arkanoid, you must use the on-screen paddles, which are actually these two goddesses that were like transformed into paddles, to hit these iron balls to break objects up in front of you. And unlike those games, you actually progress into the game. There's a bit of exploration. This is not a pinball game. This is not Breakout. This is not Arkanoid. You actually use these balls to destroy enemies, tombstones, pick up objects, power-ups, and actually defeat bosses. This is another one of those games that I've never seen really done again. It's very, very unique. Hard as crap. And it's actually a two-player game. A really, really cool two-player game. One person controls one paddle, one person controls the other one. The second paddle, is a bit more limited in its mobility. In between stages, it actually switches up. So this is a really fun, albeit frustrating game to play with your friends. This is Devilish for Sega Genesis.
Number 7.
Street Fighter II Special Championship Edition. Made by Capcom, produced by Capcom, released by Capcom, distributed by Sega in 1993. This is a great port of an arcade classic. Everyone knows what Street Fighter is by nowadays. It's definitely a household name. Back when this first came out, it was a total mind blower. It was a fantastic arcade conversion to home, and in my opinion, it's my favorite version. For a lot of people, it was actually a system seller. There's not much to say about this game that hasn't already been said a lot. But it's an awesome game. The music's great. I still pop it in from now and again just to basically hear the music and play the game. I love the intro. I love the gameplay. I love to switch it into hyper mode and make it so fast you can barely even play it. And I can actually beat this game pretty quickly on normal difficulty, and it's really fun. It's fun to play with like one of your friends that hasn't played an old fighting game because they're just totally befuddled by the archaicness of it. And what kind of sucks about the Sega Genesis version, if you don't have a 6-button controller, you have to actually switch between your high to low attacks by pressing start. That's right. To switch between punch and kicks, because there's only 3 buttons, one for low, one for medium, and one for high attack, you can only do this between the punches and the kicks, which there are 6 to be mapped, by pressing start and switching between them. This is very challenging and difficult. But you can overcome this by either A, not being a baby and getting over it, or B, you can just get a fantastically awesome Sega Genesis 6-button controller. Street Fighter II Special Championship Edition for Sega Genesis is one of my favorite fighting games on the system, if not probably my favorite. And this is a great port of the arcade classic.
Number 6.
Earthworm Jim, made by Shiny Entertainment and released in 1994 for the Sega Genesis. It also came out on the Super Nintendo. In this game, you play as Jim. Jim's a worm. Jim's not just a worm, but he's a worm in a badass robot suit with an energy projectile pistol. He can go around shooting crazy dogs and evil crows, and you must stop the maniacal Psychro, as he has stolen Jim's weird girlfriend, which I'm not even sure what she is. She's some kind of worm or something, some kind of insect, some kind of cross-species love triangle occurring here. Ew. As ridiculous as it sounds, this is one of the best side-scrolling action platformers that there is, literally, even still to this day. Sprite work in this game is beautiful. Graphics are so colorful, and they actually look way better on the Sega Genesis. This is one of the rare games where the actual Sega Genesis port is better than the Super Nintendo one, which is not very common. I'm not going to admit it. As much as I love my Sega Genesis, often the ports are better on Super Nintendo. There's just slightly more power there. The graphics are bright, colorful, beautiful. The music is amazing. It fits the levels perfectly. It even changes kind of on scenes. There are power-ups. You can get different guns, make you more powerful, make you ridiculously strong. You can destroy piles of trash. You can launch cows into the air. Between some of the levels, there are like these little mini levels where you take your pocket rocket out of your pocket and fly off into space and chase after Psychro. And if you don't defeat him during this part, you actually have to fight him in this little mini boss battle. You have to destroy him and send him kind of squawking off into the space region there. And it's a fun little 3D minigame, or pseudo 3D minigame. This is a zany, timeless classic. Still worth playing. Definitely a definitive port on the Sega Genesis. And needless to say, it's groovy.
Number 5.
Shinobi 3 is one of the best games ever made, one of the best action side-scrollers made by Sega. It's also one of the best Shinobi games ever made. The graphics and the sprite work in this game are truly, truly amazing. The music's really good. I like it. Some people don't like it, but I think it's amazing. There's a lot of detail in this game. The controls are pretty intense, actually, because you can just shoot your shurikens at enemies from afar like most Shinobi games, but when you get close, you can use your sword to attack. You can double jump, you can double jump, and do the spin afterwards where you like jump, double jump, and then jump again, do the spin move, and you actually shoot out like multiple shurikens. You can power up your shuriken to be more powerful. You fight bosses. Oh yeah, you can drop kick people, you can bounce off walls. You're a ninja in this game, and you run like one. It's pretty amazing. Did I mention in this game that there's a scene after you fight this boss, this crazy samurai boss, where it's like this beautiful scene of this field, and you're on a horse, and a ninja on a horse, okay, is a great thing to think about. A ninja on a horse fighting other ninjas coming out of the background, out of kites that you have to destroy. This game is amazing, and you've got to play it. I don't really hear enough people talk about this game. It's really hard. Like, again, you're a ninja on a horse. That should be enough to make you want to play this game. You're also a ninja on like some kind of jet board at one point. This game is long, it's difficult, and it's totally worth your time. You should go back and play it now. I'm surprised this game hasn't had any like re-releases. And I know there's like a newer Shinobi game, but it's nowhere near as good as this game. This is the best Shinobi game, Shinobi 3 on the Sega Genesis.
Number 4.
Golden Axe 2 was awesome in the arcade. Golden Axe 2 was awesome on Sega Genesis. Golden Axe 2 is awesome. It's one of my favorite beat-em-ups. You can select from 3 different warriors, a half-naked man, a half-naked woman, or a half-naked dwarf? Is that Gimli? Weird. Goal of the game is simple. Destroy the enemies. All of them. To get to the evil Death Hatter, you've got to destroy all of his little minions along the way. You can ride dragons. There's various dragons. Some shoot fire. Some kick behind you in a really awkward way. You can run. You can jump. You can use your sword. You can build up magic throughout the game. If you use your magic too early, it's kind of underwhelming and it's kind of a waste because the enemies, once you get used to the controls, the collision detection is a little bit iffy, but it works. It's a great game, so I recommend you hold on to that magic. You build it up. And each warrior has different levels that can build magic and different spells, of course. The ultimate magic attack that you do in this game is awesome. I like the girls. I think her magic attack is the fiercest, and it totally rules, and it's like a screen-clearing attack. This game with a friend is a lot of fun. It's kind of short. It can be beaten in way under an hour. I mean, it can be beaten really soon. But if you have a Genesis and you don't have this game, you should go buy it. Go buy this game. Golden Axe 2 on Sega Genesis. Fantastic, awesome, side-scrolling action beat-em-up with swords. Medieval. It's awesome. Everybody's half naked. It's kind of gross, but it's awesome. You'd love it.
Number 3.
Everybody knows what Streets of Rage 2 is. It's one of the most badass games on the planet, and it has one of the most killer OSTs of any game ever. Still holds up. Still is awesome. It's so good that Yuzo Koshiro, the composer of the said music in this game, he wanted to put his name right there on the title screen, right there, to let you know how freaking good that soundtrack is. So that way, if you want a soundtrack in one of your games, you can contact this dude, and he will totally not make it for you. But this game is great. It's a very simple game. You want to get to the end of the level, and along the way, you want to kick everybody's ass. Doing so with a friend is good because it really helps. This game can get very difficult. And what made this game better than Final Fight at the time is when Final Fight came out for the Super Nintendo, it was one player. In the arcade, it was an awesome beat-em-up game with a friend. But at home, it was one player. What a terrible mess. So again, Sega does what Nintendo don't by releasing a great 2-player beat-em-up game with some of the best music, some of the best sound effects ever. And I would get this game now because at the time of this review, I can just see those prices just ching going up, up, up. So get this game now because it's one of the best games on Sega Genesis, and not having it and having a Sega Genesis is kind of sacrilege. I'm just saying.
Number 2.
Aladdin? A movie tie-in game that's good? Are you kidding me? Aladdin is a rare example of a movie licensed game that's actually really good. It's also another one of the few games released for both the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo around the same time that was actually better on the Sega Genesis. The Super Nintendo game is a completely different version. Completely different Virgin, I should say, because the game was made by Virgin, which is probably why it's actually pretty good, because back in the day when Virgin made Disney games, they were actually pretty good. But the Sega Genesis version is way better. The Super Nintendo game is a completely different game. Completely different. But in the game, you play as Aladdin, and you have to, save Princess Jasmine from the evil Jafar. And in doing so, you can traverse through various scenes that were in the movie, various key scenes, like through the streets of Baghdad, being chased by guards. And you can throw apples at them. It has really, really tight apple controls. Like, throwing them apples just really works. And it actually has good sword play where you can do a little melee with your opponents. And you can jump. And in between levels, if you get enough like bonus gems and stuff, you can do this little Jafar head where it's like a slot machine, kind of like in Mario 2. And if you get like all the same thing, you can get gems. And with the gems, you can buy wishes, which are basically continues, or you can buy extra lives. I don't know why you would buy extra lives. I would just save them and get all the extra continues, because each of the continues is worth like several lives. Good doing. But anyways, the game itself is beautiful to look at. It has really smooth animation. Unfortunately, in what I'm using to capture this, you can't even see how good the animation is. It's way better than what I'm showing you. The music is great, really utilizes that Sega Genesis sound engine really, really well to orchestrate some gorgeous music. And the levels can get really hard. It starts out easy. You can clear through those first few levels. And there's some mini games where you play as a Boo in between. You have to get apples and stuff like that. It's really good. And like the third level, you're in a desert, and you're trying to find these scarabs. And the fourth level, you're like in a cave. And then before you know it, you're like riding your carpet, trying to escape lava. Really awesome game. It's just now getting the credit it really deserves. Disney's Aladdin on Sega Genesis is a great, great side-scrolling platformer action game. Definitely get it. Go ahead and get it, right now. There you go. You did it. Good job.
I know this isn't what you expected, or maybe this is a generic list or whatever. This is my top 10 games that I own for Sega Genesis. I actually own all these games, recorded all the footage. This is my top 10 list. But I understand I missed a lot of classics, a lot of games I don't have, and I would put them on my list if I owned them, but I don't own them. So everyone feels better about everything that's happening with this list. Here is a list of all the runners-up.
Number 1.
My number one pick of all time for Sega Genesis is the game that if I think of the Sega Genesis, this game instantly comes to mind. I know a lot of people would probably agree with this. Some people would disagree with this. But here it is anyways, Sonic 2. That's right, Sonic 2 is my favorite Sonic game. Not Sonic & Knuckles, not Sonic 3, Sonic 2. Sonic 2 is great and improved so much over the first game. Graphics are better. You can actually hold down and spin to go forward. You collect rings. It's kind of your form of health. If you get attacked and you don't have rings, you die. And this game's really freaking hard. It's a beautiful game with great sprite work, some of the best music ever. One of the hardest levels in this game is actually the second level. See, each of the levels is broken up into these two stages. And in the first one, it was 3, and it was really annoying. So they kind of toned it down. In the second one, they made it just 2, just 2 acts there, which is really awesome, and I like that. I like how each version of the level is a little bit different. And again, like I said, the graphics and music controls, everything is great. What's weird about this game is you only use one button. A, B, and C all do the same thing. You can run just by going forward. You can go around your little loop-de-loops. It's really, really fast. Too fast for what I used to capture this. But either way, you get the point. Everyone knows that Sonic is the best game ever made. And Sonic 2 is awesome. And this was the guy and the game that really sold these systems. When friends like, I knew had Super Nintendos and regular Nintendos, and I had Sonic, they were coming over to my house all the time to look at this game and to play this game because it just looked, played, and sounded so good. Sonic 2 was so good that even my sister played it. The second level in this game, like I was saying earlier, the chemical universe of hell, that level is so freaking hard. Oh my gosh, there's a part where you drown in that game. It used to just get me so mad in that level. I would throw my controller and just rage quit this game. But Sonic 2 is a must-have and a very inexpensive game, even in box. And a lot of Sega Genesis were actually packed with it in there. It's a game you have to have. You have to have Sonic 2. If you have a Sega Genesis and you don't have Sonic 2, either get rid of your Sega Genesis or get Sonic 2. Those are your only two choices.
Thanks for watching Game Glyph, and I really appreciate you guys checking out this video. If you can, remember, please hit the subscribe button, and hit that like button, leave some comments below. Tell me what your top 10 favorite Sega Genesis games are. And again, thanks for watching my video. I'll see you again really soon.